They say all roads lead to Rome, but that wasn't just a saying, it was a system, a living network of stone, precision, and empire. At its height, Rome controlled more than 250,000 miles of roads. That's enough to circle the Earth 10 times. And many of those ancient routes still guide our maps, our cities, and even our GPS today. This is the story of how Rome built an empire that never stopped moving, and how its roads changed the world forever. When the Roman Republic began expanding, movement was everything. Armies, merchants, and messages all needed to travel fast. Before Rome, the Mediterranean world was divided by geography, seas, mountains, and tribal boundaries. The Romans saw those obstacles not as barriers, but as challenges to be engineered away. They called it Via Appia, the ways. Each new road was a declaration of order, control, and connection. The first great road, the Via Appia, began in 312 BCE under Appius Claudius Caecus. It linked Rome to Capua, and later to Brindisi, the gateway to Greece in the east. It wasn't just a trade route, it was a lifeline of empire. Roman engineers were obsessed with straightness. They believed the fastest way between 2 points was always a line, even across mountains. Using tools like the groma, they plotted perfect alignments with mathematical precision. They would build causeways across swamps, carve through hills, and raise bridges over rivers rather than deviate. The result was breathtaking. From the air today, Roman roads cut across Europe like scars of geometry. The Fosseway in Britain runs arrow straight for more than 180 miles. Even when modern motorways curve, you can often trace their backbone to Roman design. It was engineering guided by discipline and ego. Because for Rome, every road was a statement. The empire bends the land to its will. But what made these roads survive thousands of years? Beneath the surface, they were marvels of layered construction. Engineers first dug a deep trench called the agger. They filled it with compacted gravel and crushed stone for drainage. Then came a layer of sand and smaller stones to create a stable foundation. Finally, the surface, huge interlocking paving slabs of basalt or limestone, fitted so tightly that not even a knife could slip between them. Each road had a raised camber for rainwater runoff and drainage ditches on either side. The result was both durable and practical, self-draining, self-supporting, and strong enough for chariots, carts, and marching legions. In many cases, the Romans even added mile markers and rest stations, centuries before modern road signs and service stations. Constructing these roads wasn't simple. It took soldiers, surveyors, and slaves, tens of thousands of them. The process began with surveyors marking the route, followed by engineers who designed the structure. Then came the legionaries, who did the heavy labor. For every mile of progress, they shifted tons of earth, broke rock by hand, and cut trees for support beams. In newly conquered lands, this wasn't just infrastructure, it was occupation. Every road they built doubled as a military highway, allowing troops to move quickly and crush rebellions before they could spread. That's why, even centuries later, the Via Appia was called the Regina Viarum, the Queen of Roads. To the Romans, a road was more than a route, it was a symbol. Each one radiated outward from the capital like spokes from the wheel of empire. At the center stood the Millennium Aureum, the golden milestone. It was a gilded pillar in the Roman Forum, marking the point from which all distances in the empire were measured. In a sense, it was the first global navigation system. Every stone milestone along the roads reminded travelers who ruled this world. Even the names were propaganda: Via Triumphalis, Via Sacra, Via Flaminia. Each told a story of conquest, victory, or devotion. Traveling them wasn't just moving through space, it was walking through empire itself. By the 2nd century CE, Roman roads stretched across 3 continents. From the deserts of Egypt to the forests of Germany, from the Atlantic coast to the Persian frontier. Britain alone had more than 10,000 miles of Roman roads. many still traceable today. The Watling Street, the Ermine Street, and the Fosse Way all became the skeleton of modern Britain's road network. In France, the Via Agrippa linked Lyon to the Rhine. In North Africa, roads connected grain ports to imperial cities. Even after Rome's fall, medieval kingdoms inherited this web of stone. They built their towns, markets, and churches where the Romans had once placed way stations and forts. The empire had collapsed, but the roads refused to die. Modern engineers still study Roman road design for clues about longevity. Unlike many modern surfaces, their layered system prevented frost damage and erosion. They used local materials intelligently: volcanic rock in Italy, sandstone in Britain, limestone in Gaul. Each region adapted Roman technique to local geology, and yet the core principles remained constant: survey, drain, compact, and pave. The proof of their genius lies beneath your feet. In parts of Britain, Roman foundations still support 21st century roads. When engineers dig for maintenance, they sometimes find the ancient surface perfectly intact below. It's one of the few ancient systems that truly never stopped working. It's easy to forget, but roads were one of humanity's first great technologies. They transformed the way people understood distance, trade, and time. A message that once took weeks could travel in days. Markets expanded, cultures mixed, and the Roman army, the most efficient fighting force of its time, could march 25 miles a day on predictable, durable terrain. Every invention that came later, from railways to highways to the internet, followed the same purpose: connection. In that sense, Roman roads were the first network, a physical prototype for the digital ones we use today. Even now, archaeologists continue to find hidden Roman roads beneath farmland, forests, and cities. LiDAR and satellite imagery have revealed ghost routes that disappeared centuries ago. Some connect to forts that were once thought isolated. Others run beneath modern suburbs and motorways. In 2019, British researchers discovered a lost Roman route under a motorway in Kent, perfectly aligned with ancient records. It shows that Rome's network was even more extensive and sophisticated than we imagined. Some of these roads are now being digitally mapped, creating a virtual empire you can explore from orbit. After the fall of Rome, maintenance collapsed. Without imperial engineers, the roads crumbled. Weeds split the stones, and rivers reclaimed the bridges. But the routes remained burned into the landscape. Pilgrims, traders, and armies of later centuries still followed them, even when the paving was gone. In Britain, medieval kings reused Roman alignments for postal routes and royal highways. In France, Napoleon's road planners drew their maps almost directly over Rome's ancient grid. Even the word road in English, via voie, strada, comes from Roman roots. Their language shaped our travel just as much as their stones. Today, the precision of Roman surveying still influences urban planning. GPS networks rely on the same logic of straight lines and central coordinates. Civil engineers study ancient methods for inspiration in sustainable design. And travelers still walk the old paths, hikers tracing the Via Appia Antica, cyclists following the Fosse Way. These ancient highways have become living museums of human ingenuity. Each step reminds us that progress doesn't always mean replacement. Sometimes it means rediscovery. The Romans built for eternity. They didn't just pave roads, they paved civilization. Every slab of stone was laid with the belief that order could tame chaos, and design could outlast time. And in a way, it did. Because 2,000 years later, those same paths still connect towns, cultures, and people. So next time you drive down a straight country lane, look closely at the ground beneath you. You might just be following the footsteps of an empire.
Thanks for watching. This is 60-second knowledge now extended, because curiosity doesn't stop at 60 seconds. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok.